Kimothy, it is cold outside. What is the weather where you're at? Because we just got our first snow and I need more layers.
It's 11 degrees and sunny.
Come on.
Oh, I'm
I mean,
sorry. I'm on Vancouver Island, but let me tell you, it hasn't been like this since I arrived. I had 2 days straight of rain, and camping in your vehicle in the pouring rain is challenging, but also I'm dealing with cougars, and not the dating kind of cougars, but in the provincial parks there's a cougar outbreak, and a black bear was spotted yesterday in the park that I was in just visiting. So, everywhere has its challenges, but I don't regret missing Ottawa in
I
winter.
was gonna say you got your own things to deal with. And
Yeah.
Buddy's trying to make friends with the Cougars, which is like not gonna work out nicely. Buddy, you gotta stay safe.
Okay, do what I'm going to show you something.
Show me.
Because of the cougar. You're not going to believe
Show
I own
us.
this in my vehicle. I'm going to show it to you.
All right. Oh, is that your knife?
This is my knife because my cousins were kind of losing their mind about the fact that I was going to go in this certain provincial park. And a friend of mine who's in van life sent me a photograph, two photographs. I was going to go on the walk with him, and then I was busy doing something else. One of a black bear on the trail, and one of a cougar in a tree stalking him from above.
You gotta
And
get a little stabby, apparently.
so Buddy would be a really interesting Scooby snack. I literally now own the world's loudest whistle. That's the brand name. The knife, an air horn, and bear spray. And I've got this cute little like waistband thing, so I look like I'm a ninja star.
Do you have a full body vest full of knives to put on Buddy? Like just like a porcupine, but with knives. And that way, if they try to eat him, they get stabbed.
That'd be hilarious. Could you see him walking along the trail, all like 9 pounds of him, with like all these spikes on him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I feel
buddy.
like that's the best way to defend his honor.
I
Hi,
know.
Budry.
I know. Your Mamie is like looking out for your well-being.
I am.
Rub
He
your
knows
belly.
it.
Yeah,
So
because
today, so
doesn't
today
he
we're
look like a warrior? He looks like a warrior right now, I find.
well, all right. And today we're talking with our friend from the Dementia Society. The
Yeah.
Dementia Society operates in the Ottawa area
Mhm.
specifically, and they do a lot of really great work. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like locally. We're going to talk about what it's like for families having to go through a process of finding all the pieces. We've talked about it before. We've had a couple of different experts on. I see a lot of people that are struggling to find the pieces. Um, and the Dementia Society is doing good work. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Monique today.
Well, I think it's important because it's tools that people. Okay, you're not talking to Monique. It's tools that people can use. I love
Yeah.
that.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, Amy, we're talking today to somebody that I've actually worked with for communications and some strategy with her previous organization. And this is a topic close to my heart, dementia. And so we have an expert on the show. I should clarify, not for my own right now, but in my family. We have on the show today Monique Doolittle-Romas. And Monique is from the Dementia Society serving Ottawa and Renfrew. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much, Kimothy and Amy. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
I would like to brag a little bit as well because I also know Monique. It's not just your friend this time.
What?
Monique and I have also done work together and we've eaten lunch together even. Like, I'm
Come
just saying.
on.
I'm just saying.
Come
Monique,
on.
can you tell our viewers, tell us all a little bit more about you and about the Dementia Society? Let's start there, and then we've got all sorts of questions.
Mm.
Absolutely. So the Dementia Society of Ottawa and Renfrew County has been serving the community for 45 years.
Wow.
So we specialize in supporting caregivers. It is extremely important that caregivers and family members of people living with dementia receive the one-on-one support. Often what happens is when somebody receives a diagnosis, all the attention, as it needs to be, is directed towards the person living with dementia. And the caregiver takes care of the person living with dementia and provides all of the support. But we need to ensure that we care for the caregivers as well. So what we do at the Dementia Society is we provide personalized coaching. We have dementia care coaches who specialize in supporting people living with dementia as well as their caregivers. It's very tailored education. So if your mom is having issues with wandering perhaps, or your dad is reacting to sundowning, the coaches will give you that one-on-one support to help you through those times and how to have those conversations and how to keep your loved ones safe. We
Well,
also, oh,
oh, sorry, Monique.
no,
Go ahead.
please go ahead, Kimothy.
Well, I was going to ask, just before we get too far into it, you had just said with a diagnosis, I could have really used your organization's support when my dad didn't have a diagnosis because he was highly resistant. I wish we had, because it turned out he actually had cancer that had metastasized to his brain. But what about families who have a resistant person in their life, but they just need more information to figure out what to do?
I, I would advise families to reach out to us at the Dementia Society if you're not sure, if somebody is showing symptoms, and I'm not talking, oh my goodness, where did I put my car keys again? Did I put them in my pocket? Did I put them in the bedroom? Did I put them on the dresser? Someone's starting to put the converter in the fridge instead of putting it close to the TV, forgetting conversations, forgetting names. Those are the signs that you really want somebody to see the family physician. It's always best to start with the family physician, your family doctor, your nurse practitioner. They know you. They've been working with you for years. They've been supporting your health. So having that preliminary conversation with your family health doctor, your nurse practitioner, eases into the discussion instead of saying, I think you have dementia and we need to see someone. It's starting to say, okay, there are some signs here. Let's have a gentle conversation first.
Mm.
It is hard to receive a diagnosis. So the family physician will have that conversation. They'll do a little bit of testing in the office, and then they'll refer you to a neurologist, to a specialist who can then make the diagnosis. There is no specific test. It's not like I can say you'll have this test. There'll be memory tests, there'll be cognitive tests. There could be scans, an MRI, CT scan. They'll want to rule out any other diseases. So for example, is mom just starting a new medication? And that's what's impacting her memory. It isn't necessarily dementia. So we always want to make sure we have the accurate information. Once a diagnosis is there, our team will be at the memory clinic to support families as they receive that diagnosis. There'll be a
Oh,
coach on site to say, we're
oh,
here to support you.
That's
And it
amazing.
may be too soon, you've just received the information, but they have that friendly face in person to say, I'm here for you.
amazing.
What if I mean, I've been around a minute, and I've seen a lot of people come through our doors where it's kind of like half and half. Either they've got a family doctor who is on it, or they don't have a family doctor, or they don't have a family doctor that's on it. And so I just want to make sure that we are clear because I don't think you said it already, but they need a diagnosis to see you? And like, what happens like when people come to you guys as a resource? Um, if they don't have a diagnosis and they don't have like that working relationship with a doctor, don't have a doctor, all the stuff, it seems like things get a little bit wonky for people because they're already trying to find the information, but then that main practitioner is missing. So what do we do?
And they might not have a doctor in certain parts of our country.
Yeah, at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is true. You do not need an official diagnosis to come to the Dementia Society and ask for that support. You may just have general questions. You can self-refer. You do not need a referral from a neurologist or a healthcare practitioner or a social worker. You can pick up the phone and call us. You can reach out to us on dementiahelp.ca. Many of our referrals are self-referrals because perhaps the doctor mentioned us or the neurologist, but it was too much information at the time. And when they're ready, they'll come to us and say, okay, I'm looking for some information. What we don't want to see is that somebody's in a crisis. They're completely stressed. They're not coping. So it's difficult for the person living with dementia as well as the caregiver. We want them to reach out to us first. Reach
Mhm.
out before you are in distress. Know about all of the services we offer. You can join a support group so that you find out you're not on your own. It's really a dementia care coach, a trained volunteer, but just as importantly, you're going to be in a support group with other people who are caregivers, who are living your lived experience, who've been through this journey, and they connect with one another. They support each other. They give each other tips, and sometimes they just go for coffee after, just so you know you are never alone. And that
We t
is our vision, that no one with dementia faces dementia alone.
we when in Teen and Toast, I mean, we send people to you guys all the time. We have a very good relationship, and it's just like there's so many people that come through our doors that have no footing.
Yeah.
And so like one of our things that I say a lot, I can't really justify the rest, but one of the things that we're always telling people is about the coaches because it's so different than a lot of things, right? Like it's like there might be, but I haven't come across it like Parkinson's or MS or whatever. Like I haven't come across coaches in that way. And I've worked with some of the coaches and they're phenomenal, right? And it's just that, people sometimes look for like, do you know any therapists that work with aging and things like that? And we are aligned with therapists, but like when it comes to dementia, the coaches are right there and they're so helpful to all the families. And as long as we can get them past your threshold of your literal door, like just get them to you, they've always just raved because they need it so bad. And to your point about crisis, I mean, we see so many people in crisis. We see people that won't even talk about the fact that they have dementia. They're not allowed to say the word. The family's not allowed to do anything. They just get stuck and stuck and stuck. And the family often, I've seen a lot of family very involved, but a lot of other families are like head in the sand. They don't do anything. I wrote in my book that, one of my exes, we saw his grandma and we were there visiting and she was leaving the stove on and stuff. And I was flagging it for the family constantly. No one did anything for years and years and years. And then what they did was not what I would have done as a professional. And so it's just like getting the families on board to say, like, this isn't going to get better. So let's get some help now because the other side of the coin is not better.
It isn't better. And what's really important is that you can still live well.
Mhm.
You're going to have to adapt. You should be reaching out to other family members and friends. The person with dementia may go into denial, and we've had some caregivers say they're so mad at me. They think it's my fault because I encouraged them to go to the doctor. So now they have a diagnosis and perhaps they can't drive anymore. So there's a lot of anger. I think anytime any of us receives a life-changing diagnosis, there's a lot of emotions that we have to deal with. And the caregiver can't cope with that all alone. That's why, as you said, our team of professional coaches are incredible, being there for the one-on-one. And let's say your coach is Carolyn and she's not available that day that you call in. We have such detailed notes that Neil could pick up your file and be able to support you, continue the discussion, give you that advice, send you some resources, encourage you to attend a support group, and also encourage the caregiver to take care of themselves. It can be overwhelming. It can be as they're isolated, you're dealing with stigma. It's like, oh, family's starting to notice that my husband's always repeating himself. His personality has changed. So they don't engage as much. So it is important that we reach out, that we get that support. My biggest fear, to be honest, is we serve over 5,000 people living with dementia and caregivers annually. There are 24,000 people living with dementia across our region. I want to make sure that they know we have these coaches, we have support groups, we have amazing social recreation programs where our choir, I have to say, is probably the best in the city. I'm just going to say it, and in Renfrew County as well. But there's such joy in the music and our Daisy Cafe, dancing and participating art programs. We even have a program called Daisy on the Go in Renfrew County, where the person living with dementia and their caregiver go out and they're going to Bonashare Caves. They're going for a brunch together because then people see I can still go out bowling with my partner. I still can go out for coffee. I can still do this and it's okay so that I don't become completely isolated. It's important to offer that connection.
So, Monique, I love what you're saying. And we have people that watch this from across North America and one in Australia. Uh, so I think that the lessons that you're talking about would translate to other people who can look this up in their cities and their countries and follow your leadership. The question, well, maybe it's, well, there is a question. I particularly like what you're saying about a diagnosis because, to use my dad as an example, he was highly resistant to the testing related to memory. My dad was a PhD psychologist and worked at Queen's University, so he felt very strongly about keeping his marbles. And the way in the door for resistant people like my dad, I think, is the medical. Is there might be a medical reason why this is happening. Let's rule that out before we start looking at the other reasons. So once they're in the door, I think your approach is brilliant because once you're in the door, that gives them the ability to start having those conversations and realizing that they might be able to get some support that is branching off of the original discussion. Do you know what I mean? Like you're kind of, you're going in a certain direction with your loved one, but they don't necessarily need to know until you rule out medical stuff.
Exactly. Could
Yeah.
there have been maybe a mini stroke, perhaps? Or as I said, adjustment to medication or something else is going on. They could be dealing with another health issue. Is it
Mm.
thyroid? You do, and that's a gentle way of coming in to see the family physician, the nurse practitioner, ruling everything out, and then going for, okay, let's do one more test. Let's do one more referral just to confirm. And we need to, if you do receive a diagnosis of dementia, we need to give people time to adjust. It can be life-changing and it can be scary. That's why it's important to be on top of it, reach out to us, whether you're a medical professional, you get a referral from a medical professional, or you've heard this podcast because I know you have so many followers, and pick up the phone and say, I'm going to talk to someone at the Dementia Society. We have a coach on site every day, Monday to Friday, ready to take that phone call. They're there for you all the time.
I love that. Just open the door.
Just open the door.
Or I
You
love.
know, the people that I find are most resistant are who have dementia are the people who have seen it happen to their parent. And I just got to chill. Like, so they've seen something really not great go down, right? And
Right.
to be fair, the same thing in retirement living and long-term care. As we get better at it, things get better, things change. There's, you know, the nursing homes of the 60s are not what we have today in long-term care, as an example. The memory care, the dementia, um, you know, kind of encapsulating all of that venture that that loved one might have gone to. It's always been of interest to me because I find that most of the people that don't want to talk about it, people that have the dementia, are because they did see their loved one do that. And I'm wondering, because with dementia, they have long-term memory, a lot of, and mostly it's short-term memory that's the issue. And it makes me wonder if, like, maybe like they didn't know how to cope with it and they didn't cope with it well, right? Or like what happened? It's not as cut and dry to say my mom had dementia and you'll never put me in one of those homes and we can't talk about it. Like there must be some sort of content around that and like what was being done for dementia, what at this point, like 20 years ago or whatever that was. Do you come across these people too, Monique?
That's
We
a great question. Great question.
we do come across these people, and then there's also what's in the media as well, and people have this perception of what it's going to be like, and the fear that goes with the dementia. I have a friend whose mother had dementia and was very, very advanced, and out of nowhere, this is not somebody who's going to open up. And he kind of said, Monique, is this what's going to happen to me? Do you think I'll have dementia? And it's not necessarily hereditary. There are things we can do to take care of our health to prevent having dementia, whether it's exercise, social connections, keeping our brain active. But there will be times you could get vascular dementia if you have a mini stroke. It's not necessarily going to be the same thing for every single person. So they shouldn't delay a diagnosis out of fear.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law had dementia, and her memory, her short-term memory wasn't as strong. But my goodness, she remembered a lunch she went with my parents. It was 20 years previous. She remembered it down to the restaurant. And for her, that was a recent memory, and it was a joyous memory. We
Ma-
need to meet people where they're at in that moment. Why would I say, well, that was 20 years ago, Mom? No, she talked about my parents like she just had lunch. They went to Swiss Chalet. She remembered the color of the car. That's what mattered. It was a beautiful, cherished memory. So we're not, people shouldn't panic if they're worried. They need to see a doctor. They need to have that conversation with their family physician. Find out if it's hereditary. Was it a different form of dementia? If you're not sure, ask those questions.
Can you both connect for me the dots of the importance of a diagnosis and quality of life? Because what I'm hearing from you is that if you ignore this, like any other body issue, right? If you ignore it, it's never a good thing. Can your programs, can your coaching, can having support increase the quality of life and longevity of your enjoyment of life? Like, can you just connect those dots for me?
Absolutely. Being connected to others, being connected to support groups, having the one-on-one coaching, tailored education, social recreation programs make a big difference. You're actually participating in the activities. You are going out, you're meeting with someone. You're participating in our new program, an OB program, which is very interactive. You can see you're still living well. You're having a good time instead of isolating yourself. So now you have less interaction. You're not speaking to as many people. You're not engaging. And the more isolated you become, the more the fear builds in. So you need to engage, you need to participate, and you need to see others that are living with dementia as well as other caregivers. So you can see you can live well. The monthly brunch club is a perfect example where it's okay to go out to a restaurant together.
Can
It's
we
okay to have lunch with somebody so that you're not completely isolated. Don't let the stigma, our self-perceived stigma of dementia stop you from engaging, because the more engaged you are, the better you're doing, the more fun you're having, and there's hope.
That's
Mhm. Can we just touch briefly? We'll switch conversation in just a second, but can we just touch briefly because I see this a lot. We have a lot of couples and partners out there, right? One is dealing with dementia, diagnosed or non, and the other one is dealing with everything else and having a spouse or partner that has dementia. I've seen it happen in a lot of different ways. But I often find that, we talk about caregiver burnout, and if your caregiver is your partner, it like that I find to be a more intense situation because they're there all the time. And to your point about socialization, a lot of our people start to not leave the house anymore. One, because they don't feel safe leaving that person alone. And two, maybe they don't want to talk about it. Maybe they don't want to know, hey, how's so and so doing or whatever. And so everybody gets isolated. I also find it more difficult for the partners who are medical backgrounds, like our nurses, they, God love them. They never give up, right? They just that constant, right? And they will caregive forever. And you have to kind of circumvent it a bit because they're really hurting themselves. And then we also have people that are downright angry. They're angry that their loved one has dementia. They're angry of what that means for their life and their life as a couple. And they're angry that shit's not going the way that they wanted it to go. And there's also the point of a lot of people don't accept help well. And a lot of people don't want to air what they think is dirty laundry. And all of this swirls in ebbs and flows. And somebody might have all of those aspects. And one day it's great and another day it's terrible. And I just feel for these couples so significantly. And do you have any thoughts or pointers? Because I feel like and to your point, taking care of the caregiver, right? There's the person in this scenario that has dementia and they're doing their best, right? They can't remember it all. It is what it is. They just can't do it. And then there's sometimes the spouse that's just not willing to accept it or can't get past it or doesn't understand what that now is going to mean for them as a couple or partners, for them as this disease progresses and their partner gets taken away from them more, right? Because they're losing more of that and what that means. And a lot of people are terrified.
They are terrified because your life can change. Your life, your hopes, your dreams. We were going to travel, or my husband, my partner used to always take care of these things. He took care of the finances. He went to the bank. He took care of household repairs. And suddenly I have to do all of these things when I was counting on my partner to take care of them. Um, I'm scared. We had dreams. What happens to those dreams? I don't want to reach out for help. So I'm not sure how to cope. I just know I have to keep doing this. We know that on average, the caregivers that we support provide more than 40 hours per week of caregiving. And those are strictly caregiving responsibilities. That's more than a full-time job
with no subsidies.
with no subsidies. And all of our programs and services are delivered free of charge. I forgot to mention that. But what
Big,
happens as well for the caregiver is
yeah.
you're grieving. You're grieving what your hopes were for retirement or as you go older in life and time with the grandchildren, maybe travels. You're grieving the spouse that you used to have, the partner that you used to have, grieving the relationship you used to have with a parent. And as time goes on, you're having to make all those decisions. So your relationship changes and you almost become just a caregiver, not the spouse, not the partner. And it's very dangerous when you isolate yourself. You do not want to get to the point where I'm going to take my spouse to the hospital and walk away. I am that tired.
I've
I
seen it.
can't anymore. So have we. And
Yeah.
that's why that support in the early stages from the Dementia Society, from community support services, getting involved in adult day programs, there's so much that can be offered. You've got to reach out. And reaching out is as simple as picking up that phone. Go to our website,
And
dementiahelp.ca. There's multiple ways you can reach out to us.
and
Programs are in French and English.
there's no judgment on the other line.
No,
Nobody, you're gonna get me. I'm verklempt. I'm trying not to tear up. Nobody's gonna judge you if you ask for help.
they are going to welcome you with open arms. We are there for caregivers. We welcome that call. We want you to make that call. I met someone about a year ago. We were actually traveling on the train, and of course, I'm like, have you heard of the Dementia Society? This person mentioned he had reached out to us as a caregiver, and his exact words to me, and now I'm going to get emotional, are, I didn't know I was drowning until I spoke to a coach.
Yeah.
I had no idea because you're just going to push through. You're going to keep doing what you need to do
Every day.
every single day, but you don't have to do it alone.
No.
You really don't. There's so many great programs, and our coaches are there. We offer a general education, general awareness. We want Ottawa and Renfrew County to be more dementia friendly. It's really important that people feel comfortable going to a museum or a restaurant so that you can participate and even travel. We need to make sure that travel is safe for people with dementia.
Yeah.
At our Walk for Dementia in September, the Ottawa Airport announced they now have the lanyards with sunflowers on them, which clearly indicates to staff, hey, this is someone with an invisible disability. Be patient, be kind, take your time. And United Airlines has indicated they will have those lanyards at all of their stations, wherever you check in. It's an important sign that now you know as a caregiver, it's going to be okay if mom's traveling with me or my spouse is traveling with me. They know to be patient. So if it's taking me a little bit longer to answer you, don't get impatient with me.
Yeah.
Rephrase the question. Be
I
kind.
think amazing. And I would imagine that Krista Keeley was involved in that out there because the Ottawa Hospital, Ottawa Airport has been pivotal. But um, what the two of you talked about, and we don't shy away from emotion on this podcast because that's what it's all about, is I think you both know that concussion hit in a head-on collision, and I tried to hide my memory loss for probably a year. That kind of, you'd hear people say, like, I've already told you that. I'm like, this is so embarrassing. So finally, I got really comfortable, kind of had to, with, no, I don't remember that. I've had a massive concussion and my short term is kind of out the window. The sense of relief that I had, Monique, Amy knows this story well, but the sense of relief that I had of, this is the way that I am now. And I write, I'll show you, like when we do these podcasts, right? Like I have my little notebook and I take down information that I need to know. And brain injury, right? Sort of maybe a little similar to the sense of relief when you actually, as a family or as an individual, say, I'm not the way that I used to be, but I'm still fantastic and sexy.
You absolutely are. There was never a doubt there,
Right.
Kimothy.
And
But
so
you're right, saying it out loud makes such a
when you
difference instead of carrying it inside.
the sense of relief that you feel that I am the same person. I just, sometimes I walk with a cane, right?
Yeah.
So if you liken it to some days I've got the cane because my back is doing whatever the collision did to my back, and some days it's my brain. You don't judge the cane in the same way that you judge the brain or the memory loss. And the minute you put it out there, I have never once had somebody say to me, oh, that's too bad. And that kind of like gross fake respect for you. Instead, it's like, cool, what do you need? So that I'm like, okay, could you put it in an email? Could you put it in a text? I can remember written things better than I can remember what I hear. It's so freeing. And for these families that struggle, and I do think it's a little generational. I think our generations are getting a little better with this kind of stuff. It is so freeing to just say, this is the new version of me, and I am fantastic and sexy.
That has to be our new motto, I think.
Oh my goodness. Monique, talk to us about how you're working with the community. How are we raising awareness? We, because now I'm a part of your team here. We are raising awareness. How are you guys working to do that? You've got your walk, but there's still a lot of people that don't know anything. There's still a lot of people that don't know enough about dementia, and you really have to work hard to get that information out. So what types of stuff do you guys do? Because I do see you out there all the time.
So our team is amazing at going out to do health fairs, open houses. In the month of January is World Alzheimer's Month, so we will have a very distinct campaign I'm giving you a sneak preview. It's called Open the Door
Yeah.
to talk about dementia, to be able to connect, and we'll have an open house. We'll connect people to all kinds of services. It'll be across all the hospitals, signs, pamphlets. We try to attend health fairs. We try to rural fairs, if we can attend, if we have the staff that can attend. Uh, Media interviews, today's podcast is a perfect example. We work with all of our sponsors to increase the publicity. This fall or this winter, we're going to have an appeal for Giving Tuesday, which is, of course, December 2nd. And what we ask people to do is to take the challenge. In fact, I'm going to ask you two to join me in taking a challenge. What can you do to make our communities more dementia friendly? Can you record a video and encourage others to say what they're going to do? What part of the challenge are you going to take up? Are you going to help us spread the word? Partner with seniors residences, make sure the physicians are aware of our programs and services. There's an opportunity to donate as well. We'll have a matching campaign this year, but it is about getting the word out because we're determined not to continue to provide programs and services for free,
I was
education, coaching. But in order to do that, we have to fundraise approximately $900,000 per year. We are government funded. We are their designated Ministry of Health service provider in Ottawa and Renfrew County, and we're very grateful for the funding. But the need is growing. So we need to increase our awareness. We need to increase our sponsorships and donations. Most importantly to me, we need to make sure people know we're there. I don't want to think about people trying to provide these supports by themselves without reaching out to us. If today's podcast helps us reach 10 people and they come to us and say, I need that support, then I will be very happy. I want to make sure that people know that we're available to them.
Mhm.
And the number of people living with dementia is going to double by 2050. So imagine 50,000 people. We need to invest today to be able to support the community as we have an aging community, as we have more people living with dementia. We need to make sure that those services are in place so we can be there in the future when people need us.
sorry, is that just in the National Capital Region?
That is the National Capital Region, Ottawa and Renfrew County. It's going to double. So we need to make sure those programs and services are in place now.
I was going to ask you about donations, Monique, because where I am, there is a waterfront. I'm in Victoria, Sydney, waterfront path, and there's benches all the way along that path. I can't say WALK out loud because my dog is sitting here.
Aha.
And each one of those benches is dedicated to somebody loved. And I stop and I look at the years. Some are younger people, some are older people. I look at the years and I think how important it is for people who have been touched by something to donate because, and I have done this with cancer and my dad, is it is like the legacy piece of relating to the fact that you've done something in their memory that keeps them alive, just like those benches on the ocean front.
It is important. I have to say our donors are extremely generous and very supportive. Often our donations will come from caregivers, people we've been involved with over the years. And for some, it's been 10, 20, 30 years. But if you've been touched by what we're discussing today, or you know somebody who could use our services, have them reach out to us. But donations are extremely important. That's why we're encouraging everyone to join us in this challenge. What can you do to help us get the word out? I often find you can hand me a piece of paper, but I'll remember better if we're having this conversation and I connect to part of what you're saying. It's like, yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We did not reach out as a family for supports at first for my mother-in-law, and we should have. And it's important that you know that all those supports are there. We have a lending library, we have devices. So if someone's trying to determine, will this clock work for mom, or mom's not taking her medication properly, we have dispensers and they're all free of charge. We have animated computerized animals and babies. We have fidget blankets. There are all kinds of tools that we can offer to make it easier for people to adjust to living with dementia.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
And again, these are available free of charge. But we want the people to engage in these programs and services. So
But
important.
those things, right?
Yes. It,
But Nick, you said something really interesting that I didn't connect a dot to until now. You know, I we work with a lot of people. You know, there's a lot of people in both of our spaces as seniors and caregivers in the dementia space and whatnot. And you know what I've found, and I didn't click until you said that, a lot of the people that don't get help soon are the people, some not, you know, in general, that actually have a stake in the profession. So like yourself, you're very familiar with seniors, you're very familiar with dementia. To your point, you didn't get help right away. I know another colleague going through it as well didn't get help right away and was like, "Oh, we'll see about this and we'll see about that." And I was the one saying, dementia coach," like because I'm not in that position, but I found it really interesting as professionals we're all dealing with stuff, right? And when it comes to this specifically in our world, you know, us as professionals, it takes a minute to like get through because you're dealing with your own family. And so that just goes to show it's so difficult for all of us. And I'll say the same thing as I said to this other coworker. We know better and we're still not doing it, right? Like we understand what's happening to a certain degree, whether, you know, it's dementia or aging or whatever that is. But as professionals, it takes us a minute. And so consider the extra gap between run-of-the-mill, you know, caregivers and families without this background.
when you make that assumption, I think when you're a professional, I know all this, I'm good. And then I think, no, actually, I didn't know everything. There's so much I needed to learn.
Yeah.
How to respond to certain behaviors, how to respond to wandering. There are so many tips that you can pick up, even if it's just someone to talk to say, oh, today was a really, really hard day. I've seen some personality changes, some mood changes. Just, it's not counseling, it's coaching to help you respond to those things. And it's
Mhm.
okay to ask for help. I think there are many of us who are like, I'm good, I've got this. Well, you don't have to do it. You don't have to be good by yourself. There's a team there to support you, to help you, especially when it comes to the Dementia Society. We're on standby to help people.
Hmm. Well, this has been an eye-opening. I mean, eye-opening for me too, even though I have a lot of information because we talk pretty frequently, right?
We do.
But you know, I hope that the people that are watching, to your point, if we can get 10 people to recognize this and just move the ball ahead just a little bit and reach out or talk to their neighbor or talk to their kid or whatever it is, then I feel like that's a good day for us, right? Because we're just trying to get this information out to educate people, to make sure or to do our best to give them information so that they don't land in caregiver burnout, so that their loved one is surrounded by hope and love and are able to participate. And just because they have dementia doesn't mean they're not human. That doesn't mean that they're not a person anymore. And so let's take what's happening and spin it so that they can still have good quality of life and you as their loved one can still have good quality of life and together.
100%. I would encourage people to follow us, subscribe to our newsletter. It keeps you up to date on all developments. We offer a multitude of webinars with all of the top neurologists in the city who come in and help us understand, learning all kinds of new information, there are different types. There's over 100 brain diseases below dementia. So what are they all? How do I do that? We have YouTube videos every time we have a webinar, it's available. Everything is there waiting for someone. If that's where they want to start, it's dementiahelp.ca. If they're looking for more individual support, we're there as well.
Well, thanks, Monique, for coming on and joining us. I really hope that people do start moving the ball forward and get some help and know that we're people like Monique, people like myself, Kimothy, we're all out here to help and keep those conversations going, whether it's through family or friends or professionals. There's lots of people in this world that want to help. So for our viewers, we'll see you next time on the Inner Shift.